Okay, so, sometimes you hear these stories and they sound like something straight out of science fiction.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, get this. Siberia, June 30th, 1908.
Okay.
A Tuesday morning, just a normal Tuesday.
Right.
And suddenly, bam, a massive explosion.
Whoa!
It happened near this river called the Podkamania Tunguska River.
I've heard of that.
Now get this, the force of this explosion was absolutely insane. Like the equivalent of a 10 to 15 megaton nuclear bomb.
Seriously.
Seriously, just try to wrap your head around that for a second.
It's hard to even imagine.
It's just unbelievable. The blast completely flattened over 2,000 square kilometers of forest.
You're kidding me?
Nope, I'm not. It wiped out something like 80 million trees, just gone.
That's like the size of a whole country just wiped off the map.
It's mind-boggling. But here's where it gets really interesting. No impact crater was ever found.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you had this crazy explosion, this unbelievably huge destruction, but nothing hit the ground.
So what happened then?
Well, that's the mystery that really got me hooked. How do you have such a massive explosion without anything actually impacting the Earth?
That is a good question.
Well, it turns out scientists have an explanation, and it's called an airburst.
An airburst?
Yeah, imagine a meteoroid or a comet. Basically, a big chunk of rock or ice from space hurtling towards Earth at an incredible speed.
Okay, I'm following.
Now, these things can be pretty big, like 50 to 60 meters across.
Wow.
So picture this thing flying through the atmosphere, and instead of crashing into the ground, it explodes while it's still high up in the air, like 5 to 10 kilometers above the ground.
So it never actually hit the Earth?
Nope, and that's why there's no crater. The explosion happened in midair, and the energy release created this massive shock wave that caused all the damage on the ground.
So it's like a bomb going off in the sky.
Exactly, and that's a crucial point. It showed us that you don't need an actual impact to cause massive destruction. The energy released from an explosion high up can be just as devastating.
And it changed the way we think about impact risks, because even without a crater, we can still have catastrophic damage.
We even have eyewitness accounts of this event. People who saw this thing with their own eyes.
I bet that was terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. They described this fireball, brighter than the sun streaking across the sky, followed by these incredibly loud booms that shook the ground.
Wow.
And people hundreds of kilometers away said they were knocked off their feet and windows were shattered.
The shock waves must have been insane.
And that's not all. For several nights after the explosion, the sky glowed with this eerie light.
Really? Why was that?
Well, it's thought that the explosion threw a huge amount of dust and ice particles into the atmosphere, and that caused a strange glow in the sky.
Wow, so this event was truly massive.
It was one for the history books, but you'd think something this big would have triggered an immediate investigation, right?
Yeah, seems like something you'd want to figure out right away.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until 1927, almost 2 decades later, that the first scientific expedition actually made it to the site.
Why the delay?
Well, the area was incredibly remote and difficult to reach, and there was a lot of political instability in Russia at the time, which made things even more complicated.
That makes sense.
But that delay also meant that some pretty wild theories had time to circulate.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, you have this invisible force causing all this destruction. So naturally, people started coming up with all sorts of explanations.
I can imagine.
Some of the ideas were pretty out there, things like a massive natural gas explosion happening deep underground.
Interesting.
Or even the idea of a tiny black hole passing through the Earth.
A black hole?
Yeah, it sounds crazy, right? And then there's the even more far-out suggestion that it was an alien spacecraft malfunctioning.
Aliens, really?
Yeah, it's definitely captured people's imaginations. But it's important to remember that the vast majority of scientists agree that the most likely explanation is a meteoroid or comet airburst.
So the aliens are probably out of the picture.
Yeah, probably the evidence just doesn't support those other theories, but the Tunguska event is a powerful reminder of the very real danger of near-Earth objects.
So we need to keep an eye on the sky.
Absolutely. This was one of those powerful impact events ever recorded, and it didn't even leave a crater. It was a real wake-up call. And it's actually what led to the field of planetary defense.
Planetary defense?
Yeah, now we actively track asteroids and comets that could potentially pose a threat to Earth.
That's good to know, so we're not caught off guard.
Exactly, and it makes you think, what if a similar event happened today over a city?
Oh, wow.
Imagine the chaos with all that destruction, but no obvious impact site. It would be incredibly difficult to figure out what happened and how to respond.
You'd have all this damage, but no clear explanation.
Exactly. It would be a whole new set of challenges and consequences we'd have to face.
It's a sobering thought.
It really is. And it makes you appreciate the importance of the work being done in planetary defense to protect us from these potential threats from space.
Absolutely. The Tunguska event is a great reminder of how much we still have to learn about our universe and the dangers that lurk out there.
And it shows how even an invisible force can have a profound impact on our world.
And it makes you wonder what other mysteries are still out there waiting to be discovered.
That's a great question. One we'll have to save for another deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.